I texted him and I said, wow, like Dream Nathan is such a jerk. I caught him watching porn and he started to yell at me about it.
Whoa.
So I thought that's really weird. So I called him and he opened up to admitting to watching porn.
Guys, we want to welcome you back to the Grounded Union podcast in season 3. We are talking with real couples going through real things, just like all of us when we got married, where it's like there's stuff we face. Sometimes it's early on, sometimes it's later on. There's no better time than now. So Nathan and Danielle, thank you for hopping on the show with us to talk about what you're going through right now. Danielle, maybe you could kick us off and kind of give us a little backstory of what's going on in your relationship right now.
Thanks for having us. I guess I'll start. We've been together 12 and a half years and married for 7.5 of those. I don't know. I feel like I just have to dive right in. Is that all right?
That's
ahead.
perfect.
Yep.
A month ago yesterday, Nathan had come clean to me about a bunch of things. I had no idea what's going on in our relationship. So we've been working through him opening up and just lots of things coming to the surface that I had no idea were happening. And it really changed who I see Nathan as a person. And just there was so much lies and manipulation over the years. Yeah, a lot of things came to light and opened up to me. But as things opened up, it just got harder and harder. I feel through your guys' program, we are making progress. It's just in such a hard crisis spot for us right now, where we're only a month into, or me only a month into learning this all. Another thing I find so hard is that we've been together for the 12 and a half years and he's known this the whole time and I'm just learning it all now. So it feels so intense for me and sometimes like not so intense for him. So like I find that really a hard.
Yeah. How did it all come to the surface for you guys?
Oh, I had a dream.
Wow.
Yeah, and I woke up and he hadn't gotten to work yet. It was right before he would arrive to work. So I texted him and I said, wow, like Dream Nathan is such a jerk. I caught him watching porn and he started to yell at me about it.
Whoa.
So I thought that's really weird. So I called him and he opened up to admitting to watching porn and saying that, not admitting how much,
Yep.
but that he had used.
Started to admit.
Yeah. When we did start dating, I'm a very open person. So we set up some boundaries of what you think cheating is. One of them is porn. We are a couple that's together and they are humans. They are other. We're together. It's us. So that one boundary we laid out and he didn't say anything about it. So I thought we were in agreement. And then another one was just that you wouldn't do anything without your spouse there that you would do in front of them. You wouldn't do anything.
You wouldn't do anything without your spouse being there that you
Yep.
wouldn't do if she
Yep.
was there.
That makes complete sense to me.
Boundaries we laid and our whole relationship, it was probably like could have been same day or the next day that he went and watched porn. So it's literally our whole relationship feels to me a lie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because you're just now finding out just a month ago after knowing each other for 12 years. And Nathan, if you want to add a little bit just from your perspective, you could kind of share what's been going on in your world.
Yeah, we about a couple, what was it, 4 or 6 months ago, I'm part of a band, and I came back from one of the shows one night, and I got a text message the next day from just one of the girls who planned a different event, and she sent me a video of her making out or kissing another girl at the bar
Through an unsaved number.
through an unsaved number. That was not intentionally malicious. I just don't have things saved on my phone, but regardless, I hid the video and I lied to her about the fullness of what was on the video. So then we kind of started working through that, and she was very betrayed. And then my father passed away, so she very graciously gave me as much time as I needed to kind of work through that. But all the while, I was still watching porn and spending all my energy not at home and elsewhere. And then she messaged me about Dream Me watching porn, and then I didn't want to continue down the path been on and to continue to lie. And even though I still have, I started to come clean, and I, with good intentions, even though, it's the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I want to do better, continuously want to do better, but hasn't happened per se, the capacity that either of us would want, or the quickness that we would want it to happen in.
Thank you for sharing, Nathan and Danielle. Nathan, you said your father passed away a few months back.
May 14th, the day before Danielle's birthday.
Wow.
We were just getting into therapy and that literal day, so a month before that, we found out his dad was sick. So like we had just started therapy about everything that had happened because even 3 years prior to that, there was a different text
Very
situation.
similar.
And also when he went out with his band, also a girl that worked at the bar.
Yeah. So your father's passing was pretty abrupt, it sounds like.
Oh, sorry, that's where I was getting deep.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, we started therapy
was-
and then stopped because
Yeah,
we found out that day his dad was sick.
But it was not, I mean, it was abrupt because he has had cancer for quite some time, but a couple months prior to the bad diagnosis, they basically said, "Hey man,
All clear.
great news, you're cancer free." We're actually in Hawaii. I believe they were hiking in Hawaii, and he said, yeah, his foot went numb one day, and then the rest of his leg, and then
Just from there.
a month and a half later, he was gone. It was an extremely fast decline. Like, we knew he wasn't great. We knew he was kind of sick, but we thought that he was better. And then it went from 0 to 100. His body was just covered in cancer, and then that was it.
And Nathan took a lot of time off work because they live about 4.5 hours from us.
Yeah.
So he took a bunch of time off work and was there helping his mom because they did try to do the at home as much as possible. And he ended up doing the assisted suicide, and Nathan hold his hand and sing him away. So like it was a lot.
One of the biggest things for me is just say watching the man that you've grown up thinking is so strong and such a tough dude, and just seeing him basically crippled and having to carry him up the stairs to bed, and me being the only one strong enough, as my sister and my mom aren't strong enough to carry him up the stairs. So I was basically just picking him up from the front door and carrying him to bed and taking him out of bed, and
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot.
So Nathan, that loss is a massive loss, and this definitely like you talked about, the progressive loss of seeing him weakening, and that whole process is very difficult on the soul. As it pertains to your relationship, it sounds like as you're able to cry and express emotion, you have access to emotion. It seems like you can feel some, like you're alive. Yeah. So you're feeling. What I want to illuminate is, I'm going to guess that the porn, we'll call it the communication that has been concealed with other women from time to time. I want to learn more about your relationship to pain or processing difficult emotion, because I'm wondering if you're able to kind of look back on your life and see, like, has porn been the medicine to try to work through difficulty? I just wanted you to kind of reflect what you've thought on that before.
I don't know about that, like, per se, but absolutely with, like, the dopamine. I'm not saying, like, I used porn as a tool to disassociate, absolutely, but, like,
Yeah, we did a trial separation for a month in August. We ramped it up.
way more porn than have in the last foreseeable history. So yeah,
What was the trial separations? What was the goal for that?
it was just everything came to a head with all of my my
Like-
lies, and
Fighting.
we were just.
It wasn't about the live then. The separation, I didn't know about everything yet then.
It's true.
The separation was just, I didn't know if I wanted to be with you anymore. Everything had gotten so intense. Everything was horrible, and you didn't take me seriously. So I finally said separation, and like there were a couple things that you had been holding off doing for years, and you did them that night. I told you, I communicated the things weren't good, but until I like say I'm getting out,
Right.
he just even
Did-
mentioned in through all of this that he's just always seen me being there for
Right.
him emotionally, because I have been.
It was comfortable. I didn't have to work at it.
He's such an honest, open person. I just believe everything he said. I feel it's like changed me to my core. I don't want that. I've always been somebody that like, I trust you until you like prove me otherwise. But honestly, like you've proven me so many times and like still trust you, and I don't understand why I do.
So it sounds like some of the issues you guys have been having, you were having issues before you even knew he was addicted to pornography. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I felt the push away. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. But I just
exactly.
assumed it was motherhood. When things started getting bad, I just assumed it was normal motherhood.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would have never thought of anything like this. Every time he went out without me when he was in the band, he would flirt and chat with all the women. He stopped his band in the spring because he actually thought he was going to go home with someone and sleep with them.
Okay. And so right now,
It was because I found that video.
so you found that video, then later you found out about the porn. And so one thing I want to create a full picture with here, because I think this is an example of oftentimes when there's so much conflict in the relationship, and a lot of couples will come to us and they're like, oh, we just keep arguing. We have all this conflict, this, and this. And it's always what we always like to teach is let's look underneath, right? Because you guys probably in your 7.5 years have tried a lot of different ways of trying to heal through all this conflict, the disagreeing, the disconnection. And at the root level, there's this massive secret, right? And there's actually, I'm going to guess, a lot more because you're very, very fresh in this, right? You're only a month into actually having this moment of confession, which incredible that you took that moment. Something literally sparked inside of you, Nathan, and you're like, I'm done. Like, you had a dream. Like, you could have kept going. You've done 7.5 years of lying and hiding it, right? Or 12, actually. So it's like you could have kept going in that moment, and something broke inside of you. Could have even been linked to your father's passing of like, whoa. Sometimes when we have those moments where we see death, we're like, whoa, this is a moment that marks me and transforms me. Like, you realize the fragileness of life, you know? And it's like, do I actually, which maybe you've had time to ponder this and maybe you haven't, you maybe even at a subconscious or conscious level had been reflecting, like, do I actually want to go out as a man who's had all of these secrets, or do I actually want to be seen and known and experience intimacy? And so at the root level, underneath the surface, you guys had what I like to call the true areas of disconnect, right? I said this in another interview. I always equate it to nature when I'm giving examples. So like if we think of a weed, there's the weed that we see sprouting up above the soil, right? And then there's the actual root system of the weed underneath. And so when you guys see all the conflict, that's like the weed that we see above soil, right? And you kept trying to pluck up the weed. You're just kind of scraping off by trying to address communication, disconnection from the top until you actually literally get your hands into the foundation, into the earth, and grab that weed up by the root. That's the only way you never get that weed to grow back, right? And so what you've done now by saying, I'm going to actually tell you about the pornography. I'm going to actually tell you about these women that I'm texting with, flirting with, you know, entertaining ideas of sleeping with. That's when you pluck the whole thing out and you can actually see it, and you can actually live a life then where there is no more weeds sprouting out. So you guys are in the foundational step, which you know a lot of this that we teach inside the app. You're in the foundational step where you're actually beginning to see everything. And Nathan, what we always teach and will say is in this process right now, become aware of the fact that you have become a very talented and skillful storyteller to yourself, right? You've told yourself a lot of stories so that you don't have to tell Danielle the true stories, right? So you gave a couple examples of maybe a video comes in, and I'm sure you had a whole story you could spin and tell to make that look, it's called minimizing, to make that look lesser than maybe what it actually was. And you have these stories you tell yourself when you look at pornography, when you masturbate, whatever it is, so that you don't have to come clean to Danielle. So in this time right now, there's a level of truth that you can see about your history, your entire life's history, and especially the time that you spent together. What we always like to bring awareness to, especially in these first days, weeks, and you're in this initial month, is there's most likely a lot more that you don't see yet. Can you see it? Absolutely, you can see it. The key element here is that you have to be willing to choose to see it. So you have to posture yourself in a place that goes, whoa, I'm a good storyteller. I've told myself and Danielle and maybe others some really good stories that are not true, right? And now I want to understand the true story. I like to call it reality. What is real? What really took place? Not the stories that were made up, not the stories that were conjured, that were twisted, manipulated, minimized, little missing details here and there. The actual full authentic story. That is your pathway to healing. And I'm so glad you guys found us. Literally, did you find us at the same time of hearing about all of this, of the pornography addiction?
Our therapist recommended Brandon.
Yeah, so we started following Brandon on Instagram.
Amazing.
About one of his posts that mentioned the app.
Yeah.
I said, well,
And I think right after you started opening up, then you were like, hey, I'm going to get the app.
Amazing. I've never heard of a therapist recommending us. That's like incredible to hear.
That's cool. I like putting myself back when I was right after Caitlyn and I had kind of started exploring. I think what, Nathan, I want you to really root yourself into is just acknowledging what you feel internally right now, whether it feels like say when we start talking about the porn, like what your body feels like, if it goes blank, if you feel scared, if it goes anxious. It's clear Danielle is feeling very torn up about this. I remember Caitlyn weeping in my face, asking questions, wanting to go further, wanting to explore, and I just had nothing. Like I couldn't see my own thoughts. I couldn't feel. I just was locked up and shut down. I see you guys looking at, is that what you experience or what do you experience?
well, like we start talking, and then she says, okay, well, what else? tell me more. What else have you done? What else? And I was like, I'm not trying to actively hide anything, but I just can't think of anything else. And then she'll
Ask
try and
questions,
ask
and then
questions,
something
and
else
it's
comes
okay.
out.
Well,
Something
here,
else
yeah,
comes
no,
out. Something else comes out.
That process is common because
Mhm.
right now, like Caitlyn already said, like you've hid your life from yourself.
Mhm.
And here's the good news, even if you can't feel it right now, if you step into a daily curiosity to your own story, you will thaw out and
Mhm.
you will begin to see clearly.
Mhm.
What I didn't realize at that season is it was crucial that I did embodiment work. I didn't find that until a little bit later. There were nights where like Caitlyn was like trying to like get through to me and I couldn't feel anything. I just like sat outside in my underwear in like 20 degree. Are you guys in Canada?
oh yeah,
So in Fahrenheit, not Celsius, but in Fahrenheit, it was like 20 degrees, which I think is colder than 20 degrees Celsius. But it was really, really cold. Like, and I would just into because my nervous system was so sensitive. So I would just shake because I was so afraid of feeling anything. And I'll just like shake and feel this sense of panic in my body. But it was like the only thing I could feel. And that's what Caitlyn was feeling because of the reality that she had just woken up to. And I would take like a cold shower. And that's the only time I could actually feel something. I went on a run a couple times and I hadn't been running. And it was like my body was like trying to keep me from feeling. So what I would focus in on, Nathan, is not like, don't go try to like suffer your body through this, but the embodiment routine inside the app, the breath work, the cold exposure, just being in your body is the only way that you're going to start seeing this yourself.
Mhm.
Because right now, anything beyond, like for me, it was like anything beyond me laying on the couch scrolling on my phone, I didn't have capacity for. So like the moment Caitlyn's feeling something, it's like mind goes blank. And it was all like a subconscious strategy. I just call it a strategy. It was like, this is my way of like making it through life. And so what you're going to have to do is, so that Danielle doesn't have to do it for you, is really leaning into the embodiment work. I would do it at like, you can do it 10 minutes on every hour. Like instead of taking a smoke break, you take a breath work break every hour and you take 5 to 10 minutes and you breathe and you slow down, you shake your body, and you will be shocked at what begins to open up to you. So I just wanted to ask, have you had any experience doing any of that embodiment piece?
I have, yes, not as consistently as I would like to, but I have all the little practices written down, and I try to at least do the shake it out in the morning and the heel drops and the box breathing. I've been at least doing those, and I've been starting to put the other ones, some mirror talk, the like the fight the bear.
I tried to do it in front of the kids during bath time yesterday because he was having a hard time. And I said, this isn't a bad thing to do in front of them.
Right.
I stood up and told myself in the mirror that I am a good father and I am trying to,
Yeah.
I'm not trying, I am moving forward.
Yes.
There
Hey,
you go.
that, whatever that little internal shift you made to do that with that, what you just felt, that's what will, that knob you're turning, you're basically going into like a dark warehouse in your heart and mind, and you're just going and flipping on all the lights now. With that comes the responsibility of saying, hey, Danielle, my porn addiction was way worse than I thought. These girls I texted, this was actually way more frequent than I realized. We'll call it the ego or whatever. The going to play a show was very arousing for you because you knew all the women. Like just getting radically honest with the behavior helps you see it. Danielle can see it. That's why she's petrified. She sees straight through it. She knows at your core that she loves you and that you're the person she wants to be with.
Mm-hmm.
So when she describes, even in some women will, they'll speak about how awful the person is. I haven't heard her even do that yet. And she would have the right to like, you horrible.
Here. And that's all I go back to is I know you're a good person at your core if you just really, really, really do this and stick with it forever. It can't just be a Band-Aid for now.
I've just been comfortable ignoring the feelings and just going on my phone or playing video games or drinking or smoking weed or whatever, or porn.
What's your new operating system you want? Like, who's Nathan 2.0? What is he like? Tell me about him.
I
What's
want to
new
call
Nathan?
it Nate instead of
Nate.
Nathan if this
Who-
like really works.
What's Nate like? What's the Nate that's to come?
I'm not sure. Hopefully a more calm person, but
Here, wait, let's pause for a second. Don't use any, like, not hopefully, like, just tell me about him. You can slow down. Just make it really, take your time. Just tell me about him, who you want him to be.
he's strong.
Yeah.
He's assertive. He doesn't just go with the flow and just let things happen to him. Takes initiative when things need to be done. He goes out of his way to care for his wife and kids. And he's thoughtful. He wants to spend time with his kids. He wants to be around his family.
That sounds like a man worth working toward, doesn't it? It
Yep.
sounds like you know him a lot better than you thought, too.
No, what he wants to be, wants to look like at least.
Mm.
Hopefully, yes, it's that is who I want him to be.
So there's a few elements you get to shed in this process. I know your father just passed. The second step of the 7 steps we talk about in the app is the unhinging from your family of origin.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
watched that video, and
That was
oh man, was there a lot of real emotions and real thoughts
Both
that
of
came
us,
out for both
yeah.
of us. Yeah, we had a very good chat about our childhood and kind of realized that I don't have a lot of childhood memories. It's really hard for me to remember my childhood. And I don't know if that's just because I've been pushing it down and using booze and weed to numb my brain and not think about those things since I was 14.
Constant disassociation.
It sounds like it. Like you've almost kind of entered for a lot amount of years, entered in a state of not feeling. And I wonder, maybe, can you remember back when this all initially started? Kind of when did you start wanting to, we could call it numb out? So for a lot of people, I have them trace back their first sexual exposure. That might have been when you first started numbing out. Maybe it was through weed, maybe it was drinking, maybe it was a combo of all of it. Can you remember kind of when you went from feeling like maybe a vibrant, alive child to fully numb? Or do you just remember feeling like escaping your emotions your whole childhood? Do you have any thoughts, memories around that?
I think it was around my preteen years because my sister was very much the golden child, the straight A student, and then I was not that. So I pictured myself as the black sheep of the family, and I didn't really hang out with my family through those years. I would always be at a friend's house. Like I said, started to smoke weed at grade 6, I believe, so quite a young age. And yeah, I would always just disassociate through being numb, and then I didn't have to think about my family being disappointed in me or not being not having to worry about disappointing people because I couldn't feel it.
Did your family tell you they were disappointed in you?
I don't know if they used those exact words, but I've been told. My mom has told me I'm ruining Christmas. I don't know if that's the right words, but yeah,
Yeah, in some way they had kind of told you that. Were you close with your parents growing up?
I was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not insanely close, but we were. I do think I have a fairly good had a good relationship with my dad and my mom. Still think I do have a fairly good relationship with my mom.
Like time spent? Like, did you guys
Time spent, probably not though.
do dinner together?
We did always do dinners
it was all
together.
separate.
But then yeah, we would always try and do dinners together. And like I say my early childhood, we were always camping, and we would always go to our cabin in BC and spend our time together that way. Yeah, I think in my preteen years, I kind of moved away from my family
To numbing.
into numbing because I don't know, I kind of pictured myself as a mama's boy and kind of a pussy, if you will, and that just kind of snowballed into, well, if I'm getting bullied, I'm gonna be the bully, and I just became an asshole instead of.
So do you have memories being bullied then?
Oh yeah, I had to switch schools because of bullying at one point, and that did help, I think. But
What did they pick on? Your personality, how you dress? You weren't strong enough? What was it about Nathan that they picked on?
definitely, I was a very small person. I've always been very petite. I'm kind of tall and lanky, but I was always 10 pounds soaking wet growing up and just never a physically intimidating presence. And I think that, yeah, I remember getting bullied because I didn't have leg hair in grade 6. So everyone was starting to grow mustaches and had dark hair. And I'm a very, very blonde person, and I had leg hair. I was bullied because it was blonde and they couldn't see it, so I wasn't a man yet.
Wow. Well, those kids suck. That's insane.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And yeah, there was lots of things. My dad was never the call it the most level-headed person, and he caused some issues, which the start of the issues weren't him, but he absolutely finished them by going above and beyond. Like there was problems with the neighbors and stuff, and neighbors' cats in our yard, and talking didn't work to them, so he took it upon himself, and that just created big tensions in the neighborhood. And I just remember coming home and basically the entire neighborhood standing on our lawns screaming at my mom,
Wow.
and me being this tiny whatever, I don't know how old I was, but this tiny little kid just thinking, man, I wish I could go beat that adult up or protect my mom in somehow, but I was always too small and too scared. That's a memory I've always kept with me, is just seeing all these men and women and their children standing on our lawn just berating my mother and screaming at my mother because what my father had done. And my dad was at work and there was nothing he could do about it. Like I remember, we were so adamant with locking
Wow.
our doors because we were just so scared.
Wow.
We live in his childhood home.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
So that is something we've decided we need to change.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This was in your front yard in the
Yeah.
house you're sitting in. Yeah.
Wow. I think
Drives in this driveway every day.
Wow. Something I'm even hearing coming up a lot that maybe you've identified is it seems like a core fear of yours is being weak. Because if we look at a lot of these childhood memories, you either felt weak or were being bullied for being weak. And then as you were describing your dad's passing, one of the core things that really impacted you was that he looked and felt very weak to you, right? And so I'm wondering, I'm not able to fully put together the correlation here. I'm wondering though, sometimes people will act out in addiction or coping mechanisms to make themselves feel powerful or to feel strong. And especially, I'm not sure the exact type of pornography you looked at. I know there is a whole facet of categories of pornography that would definitely be maybe a more dominant, strong type of a sexual experience. And so you don't have to necessarily share what type of pornography you looked at on here. And that's definitely something that I would want you guys to explore is the possible correlations between this fear of being weak and even the reality of the fact that you really were bullied and called weak and people were trying to throw that persona and that identity on you, right?
Yeah.
And then move forward to seeing and watching your dad's passing and experiencing him almost becoming your greatest fear, and becoming weak. And then looking at the correlations of was your acting out or we could call it numbing, an escape into a different reality where you didn't need to be weak, where you could maybe be strong or be dominant. Even, that list you gave yourself of who you are and who you're becoming. I think that porn and alcohol and weed, and we could call it any sort of dissociating, is almost the counterfeit of that in society. It's like, if I have these really big, strong, like if I go and I play a really cool like show and all these girls love me and are fawning over me and texting me and everything, it's this counterfeit, it's this movie scene, right? Of like, look at me, I'm on this stage, I'm in power, I'm strong, everyone likes me. It's almost you kind of had created this counterfeit expression of power. And so what I think would be a really beautiful exercise for you guys to move into even as this call ends is what does being strong mean to you? Because we've been through what being weak looks like to you, right? And you've even lived through real traumas. Like those are very valid, tangible traumas of being told you're weak or feeling weak. And so then it's almost like, okay, what am I moving into? What does Nathan in his power look like as a strong man? Like, what does that feel like in your body? How is that expressed? And making that really, really tangible. Like, that might be that you are a certain size and a certain weight, or it might have nothing to do with that. It might be that strong me is fully, this is what I think of as strength, is like, I'm fully embodied. I know what I'm feeling at all times. I know where it's stemming from, and I know what I can do with that emotion. So it's like I'm feeling really overwhelmed about the situation in life. The old version of me would have turned to pornography, to alcohol, to girls, to weed. The version of me, the true me, I'll call it, the true me now in my power is able to feel what I'm feeling and go for a walk, connect with my spouse, play with my kids, put my eyes in the sun and my feet in the grass, like do something. Like music might be really energizing to you. So it's like that might be sitting and playing your guitar, singing a song with the kids, like whatever it is. Like sometimes when we're trying to heal, we know what we're trying to run away from, but that will only give you energy for so long.
Right.
You actually have to know what it is you're wanting to create. So you need to know, okay, I don't want to be weak. Okay, that's awesome. What do you want to be? And what does that look like? Because then when you have these memories come up, when you feel the real, tangible, like feelings and emotions in your body, as you guys are learning the 4 R's, you know how to go through the 4 R's with your sexual experiences and also with these very valid traumatic experiences from your childhood growing up. You can go through and you're releasing those and replacing those. And you have to know, what am I replacing it with? oh, this is what strength looks like.
Mhm.
This is what being in my body feels like and looks like. This is what I'm moving and stepping into.
Yeah.
This is the life that I'm building into healing.
Sometimes I'll work out for a couple days and I'll be like, babe, can you see how much stronger I look? And she's like, I don't see any changes. But I feel it internally. And there will be also times when I first started doing the embodiment work a couple of years ago, we had a group of friends be like, did you gain a couple inches? Like, are you taller? Like, what happened? And I'm 6'2". I think I was like 6'1", so I don't know if I did actually gain an inch. But like the way you will hold your body will feel different to you.
And finally get to the 6 foot. I've always wanted to be 6 feet tall.
Yeah. I can't make any guarantees, so don't quote me, but you will feel tall. And it's more of an internal, you will feel like you are occupying your body. And so all of what you're, like Caitlyn was talking about, your life pursuit has been to feel a feeling. That's why we see a lot of ultra wealthy or successful people. They're still chasing a feeling. And that's why fame doesn't necessarily give you a feeling, or a lot of money doesn't give you the feeling. But then you also see people doing great things in the world that feel really connected to what they're doing, and they're full of joy because they're in the feeling. And so why that's so important is the currency, like money, of like how you transact in a relationship is what you feel. Danielle expresses how she feels towards you. You receive her feeling and you express feeling back to her. Why pornography is painful, why addiction is painful, is because you're essentially trying to exchange this currency of feeling with someone who's not your spouse, who can't reciprocate it. And there's like, basically it's as if there was like a hole in your bank account and the money's just disappearing. And you're like, where's it all going? That's what the relationship feels like. There's a hole in the boat. Where's all the love? Where's all the intimacy? So as shameful as it feels to think about the porn, think about the texting, to think about the fantasies, to think about the lies, to think about every time you were checked out or too drunk to put your kids to bed, whatever it is, that was the leak. That was you saying, I was chasing this feeling. And the new Nate 2.0 that you already described to us, that man's capable of looking at his past and saying, that was me. That is the strongest posture of healing, is being able to look at your past and say, I did each of those things because I was pursuing a feeling. I found out it didn't work. I have had a moment of clarity. Thank God my wife had a dream and she helped me start to see. And so all you're doing is flexing the muscle of seeing clearly. And I like calling it removing the debris. And I think you guys had shared off air and through email that the addiction has been pretty much up to date. So what I want to offer you, Nathan, is the path you're on. You still need to jump off of the train you're on. It still sounds like there's a discomfort with your everyday reality that you don't know what to do with all that energy. So I want you to walk through when the energy starts getting pent up and you feel trapped in yourself. What's going on in those moments?
Like when I want to engage in my addiction, you mean?
Yeah, like you're home alone. What's the feeling?
I'm not just, I've got time. I'm just not feeling that. Haven't had happiness or my dopamine hit. Well, that's how I get it. Now that Danielle and the kids are gone, I'll go in the shower and I'll masturbate or just check out and just try and get a million things done all at once.
That sounds exhausting.
You said about like being true to yourself is, even the last couple of days, I've still had internal thoughts of, well, maybe I wouldn't have a porn addiction if Danielle did this, blah, 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 blaming her.
There's been a lot of blame our whole relationship.
And then
even before this all came out.
And I've really taken a second and said, well, no, you've been watching porn since you were 14. It wasn't a new thing that she made you do.
Yep.
It might have gotten more severe, but it's not her fault.
Great noticing.
Yep.
That feeling of I need my dopamine. You're right now in a place where you haven't experienced so abstinence, that word just makes everybody feel like, no, like I'm gonna die. What's happening is you're at a low right now because your brain's trying to recalibrate itself without highly addictive or stimulating substances or screens and experiences. You might wake up feeling a little low. That's why this is probably only for like 2 weeks. Anna Limbick, she wrote Dopamine Nation. She's a psychologist. Phenomenal book if you want to understand the psychology. Yeah, we'll send you a link to it. The psychology of what's going on in your brain right now. It's like, well, I don't actually want to look at porn, but that's the only time I feel slightly normal.
And that's something I've told Danielle, and I know you might not believe me, but every time I watch porn, when I'm done, I just have this overwhelming sense of just shame and
I believe you.
Like, why do I have to do this? Like, I don't feel any better.
Yeah, the whole point is your brain is just trying to tell you, you've told me this is how we regulate. So if you make it, as you choose into the first 2 weeks, you're going to feel more discomfort. That's why the embodiment is not optional. Like, you should be doing that. Again, like I said, do it every hour for 10 minutes and your brain will get the dopamine from that. Take the go take a cold shower. It's like, well, the cold shower doesn't sound as easy as like jerking off in the shower. It's like, you actually will feel the same rush that your
Mhm.
body's craving, and then guess what? You'll have peak energy for the next couple hours. And so you might feel this lull at the beginning, but once you make it 2 weeks to a month, that ache of like, I don't feel normal, something's off, that will dissipate. So you just have to trust that will not exist with you forever. It sounds like weed, alcohol, other substance. When is the last time you drank? Is that still, let's walk me through that.
We had a couple beers on the weekend, but normally we get 24 pack or more, and we only got a couple beers this weekend. Instead of having 6 beers a night, I only had 2 beers a day.
Okay. And Danielle, do you drink with Nathan? Is that like something you guys do together?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, and again, this is nothing to do with shame at all. I would just cut alcohol. I'd cut nicotine. I'd cut weed. The reason is here's why I want to encourage you guys. You're not trying to live a slightly better life.
And it's something you said in the app. You're not trying to survive today.
I want you guys to be the happiest people in Canada.
Yep.
I asked people at our Maui intensive, I'm like, if you knew that if you stopped consuming entertainment, you stopped numbing out, that you could travel the world, make as much money as you want, enjoy connection with your kids, who would choose that? And everybody's like, I would. And it's like, well, that's available to anybody. That's not for the select few. Your experience of life will get so much sweeter, so much clearer. The Canada Grays will go away, and you'll be lighting candles and playing a card game before bed, and you'll be laughing together, and you'll feel alive they got the candles going. That's what you're moving towards. It's not that we're like anti-alcohol. We don't drink. I've only had wine a couple times in my life. I think the first time I had alcohol,
I just don't like the taste.
And I was afraid of getting in trouble, and I played sports, and then I was a missionary, and I just never chose to drink, and my body's just really sensitive to anything, so I just wouldn't enjoy it.
We've considered dropping it.
The hurt is too new for her, so obviously she still wants to numb out a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm obviously
I'll admit.
a little bit step ahead of her because I'm not the one feeling the pain.
Yeah, I said to him, I was like, you've known this for 12 and a half years. I still don't know it. One point to him, I said, it feels like there's a waterfall that's nonstop pouring and I can't breathe. Because he's telling me these things and promising so much, it feels like he's walking by and grabbing for my hands, but like spitting on my hands and letting them slip away anyways. Just, there's so many lies still coming out.
That was a great analogy.
Great.
My nervous system is so shot. Like I've been sick for a month and I've lost like 20 pounds. Our therapist recommended that like I should go away for a wellness trip to reset my nervous system. But I feel like I don't trust him.
Yeah.
And that might be the end of us if I do that. But I need some kind of something to stop.
You guys have been so brave and very authentic in this, and I just want to say thank you. And I think what we want to invite you to, which even sometimes I just actually made a post about this. Sometimes when I go to talk, I'm like, I recognize I sound like batshit crazy. Like I recognize it, I will own it, and I will go down in history as the absolutely wild woman. And I'm okay with that because I know what real good life feels like. And that's all I ever want to recommend to anybody is what real, true, authentic life feels like and what it feels like to feel alive. Because Nathan, you probably haven't felt alive, right? You've been numbing out your whole life. And if you called me a year from now and you said it makes me so emotional because I know it's so real, and you said, whoa, I'm alive. Like, I feel alive. I feel joy and happiness and peace. And I look at my wife's eyes and I'm in love. And I look at my kids and we're thriving. Like, that is the beauty of life. And so call me crazy and it's fine. But coming back to ourselves does it in the moment. It almost feels like it costs something. And I think therapists, I love therapists. I'm not against them. They recommend a lot of times like this, like get away. And you can do that if you want. And there's a way to live a wellness retreat within your soul and with your day-to-day life that you don't have to escape from. And, you know, I teach this in the betrayal and trust videos inside the app. But if you, as you're feeling this almost like as you're describing, it's like kind of like a waterboarding experience, which is graphic. But when your spouse is telling you all this stuff, it's like you can breathe, but you don't feel like you can, right? It feels like, oh my gosh, if I don't breathe the right way, I might suffocate. The pain is so real. And going away, like you said, that's not necessarily providing any resolve to the relationship, right? Going deep into getting all of it out, you will get to the other side. And to maintain health within yourself, there's absolutely no shame that you've needed alcohol up until this point. Absolutely. I have no shame to cast. And I have an invitation of, what if you took that pain? And I want to invite you guys both. Especially Nathan, you've had these dopamine fixes through all of these different outlets you've described. Nature actually provides you the experience of getting a dopamine hit through the authentic ways we were meant to, right? So if you're feeling this like, oh, they're gone, I need a dopamine fix, go outside and just start running. I don't care if it's snowing sideways and literally like negative degrees outside, like put on a parka coat and just go start sprinting. That center within yourself that needs like a hit, it's gonna get it, right? And if you're feeling like overwhelmed with the sensation, I remember I would just go lay a blanket out outside and I would go lay in the backyard crying with the sun. My kids are running around. I feel numb and barely alive, right? I had no idea if we were making it out. I had no idea. I thought maybe he was a pathological liar and this is ending in divorce, right? And I'm just laying there under the sun and I'm letting the sun heal me and soothe my wounds. And I'm not going to my phone. I'm not trying to essentially put back in numbing agents that have collapsed the whole relationship.
Yeah.
Which it sounds so easy coming from my end now on the other side. And why we do what we do is because I remember the days when I didn't feel like I was going to be able to survive. And I read some of my journal entries in the app. And now sitting on the other side, I know what it looks like and what it feels like to be thriving. And so I'm passing the baton, the invitation of, instead of turning to these things, like it's radical to sit here and be like, yeah, don't drink, don't turn to weed, don't turn to any drugs, don't turn on your TVs. Like that's pretty radical to throw. And next year, like I said, if your relationship is alive and you feel alive and you have this thriving family, you are not going to regret that you don't drink. You're not going to regret that the TV's not on. You're not going to regret that you don't look at porn and consume weed because you're alive for the very first time. Because you can answer this. Adding in the porn, the girls, the alcohol, the weed, do you feel alive, Nathan? With all of that in there, does that make you feel alive?
No.
Right.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't. It's not working, right?
Yeah.
So although what we're saying is it seems so extreme, once you experience it, you're like, whoa, this isn't extreme at all. Like, look at all those categories of things you're trying to do, right? You've been trying to do your whole life to make you come alive. Like, that's actually extreme, right? That's a lot that's like, I think we just listed 5 things that you've got to try to daily manage on top of adding in there lying and hiding and living a life of deception. That's a lot to manage. Like, going outside hand in hand with your kids behind you and walking, enjoying nature in love, fully seeing, knowing each other, like that's actually not really that hard.
Yeah.
That's not that crazy to manage. It just feels like it
Just
because it's
right.
so unfamiliar and it's really countercultural. And yet the more you step into that, the more you realize that most of the world is craving that, because most of us have tried all of these options to come alive, and then we realize we feel so dead. We feel the opposite of live, and we want to have this returning. So it's like, I'm going to state a couple things that could be really obvious, and I just want to state them in case they're not. And that's that obviously the consumption of pornography, that's going to go. And the texting, we haven't addressed this much, but it sounds like you guys are aware of this. The texting with other women and having those relationships with them, that's something that gets severed right now, right? And it sounds like you said you're kind of taking a break from the band. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I've told them I can no longer be a part of the band because of my past actions and the way I want to move forward and heal my life. And
Amazing. Yep, you're going to create
I
something
know. Yeah.
incredibly beautiful, having paused that and recreating something.
I wanted to touch on that.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about music for a second, and then I wanted to talk about the breath. So I watched Caitlyn basically like suffocate as she would fall asleep some nights, where she could not catch her breath and she was gasping and couldn't breathe. And I watched that happen, and it sounds so cruel. And it's not like, oh, I'm glad I did that to her at all. I also think in our modern era, we see pain as this thing we should not feel. Like if I'm feeling pain, there's something wrong with me. And obviously I don't want you guys missing sleep to a degree where you're not stable and like you're
Neglecting
not
yourself,
safe. We don't want that. But ultimately, like my body's feeling the pain, giving it permission to feel it all the way through and cycle it out. And I think we didn't have the breath work at the beginning, but so for example, the box breathing, it's one of the exercises in the app, like you guys have touched on. If you take time, and Danielle, this will just be, the healing's different for you, but it's also a gift you give yourself. The act of like counting your breath, I've found that after I'm done box breathing, my breath is still in this very regulated place where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back at a homeostasis. Same with the 6-12 breathing. So you basically, for those of you listening too, like you would breathe in through one nostril for 6 seconds, and then you switch and exhale and hum for 12 seconds. You go, If you're not sleeping, just doing that back and forth, it will help you fall asleep. So there's so many things that we can do that like they cost nothing, and you guys are always going to have air around you, thankfully. And it actually like gives our body this like, wait a second, like there's been so many, like our little ones wake up sometimes, and I'm like, I'm laying there wide awake. I'm like, oh yeah, I can just snort my own air. And it's just like, it's so powerful. It sounds insane, but that's what you're tapping back into. And then your relationships, like there's no residue from what you have to do to maintain that. It's just like, you breathe today? Me too. And it's like, oh, you're connected. The other piece with music is, Nate, I don't know if this will be the case, but I just feel like with music, it might not be immediate. Like you might use, if you play guitar or the keys or bass, whatever it is, drums, that might be your way of like therapy for yourself in this time. But I see you almost coming out with like music as like a solo artist in the future that's rooted in the healing process you've been through, that actually evokes joy in other families and other homes.
I have tried writing music in the past, and it's always been extremely, extremely difficult. And that's something that Danielle has mentioned, is maybe you'll be able to write music. So I don't know. I always, whenever I would write a song, I would think about, oh, well, I can't say that because that'll make Danielle think this, or I can't say that because that'll portray this, or
And now
some
totally
of the
open
lies, I guess. Never really thought about it
You
till
can
then.
make music about it.
Me perpetrating the lies and continuing that, and not being able to push through my passion, and that's another place where I've blamed Danielle, and I've been trying to coming to terms with it. I haven't been trying. I've been moving forward and said, well, no, like Danielle's not the one that's been holding you back from this. It's you sitting there and scrolling and being so consumed with lies and hiding that you don't have the energy to.
There's happy songs coming out, and that's that again, like don't let that become your, not like your new addiction, but like don't worry about trying to get that to come out of you. This is your time to heal and reflect and to sit with that. I would more just recognize that music's not being taken, like you're having to fight a lot, like, oh, Danielle's making me feel guilty about this and she took this from me. Danielle's illuminating who you really want to be, and you're having to fight, do I want to go this way, or do I want to go this way? And you're going to find that conflict in you is going to wear off as you get really honest about who you really want to be, and you align your actions towards your values as a couple. That's going to be the North Star.
Yeah, and you guys know this, as we're this month doing the dopamine detox in there. And step 5 is create rather than consume, is what you guys will get to in the app, is when you put away the consumptions, what bubbles out and comes forth is creativity. So I'm not surprised that you couldn't write music, because you'd been numbing out your creative parts, right, with all of the over consuming. So now that the consumption is going out and you're cutting ties with all of that, creativity will automatically come forth and come out from both of you. Especially, that's just the result of coming alive, is, oh, this is my true creative self able to express, because I'm not pushing myself down and pushing myself away and numbing the true me out of the picture. I'm fully embodied and able to be my authentic self. And my last note that I want to add on the concept of you freshly coming clean, we could call it, is this epiphany kind of set in the other day after we were interviewing with another couple. The guy had said that, he's been living this whole life of addiction. He said that it had haunted him every single day. And I think oftentimes when we go traditional routes with betrayal or with broken trust, pornography, you go to counselors, therapists, whatever it is, there's oftentimes this belief system of like, okay, just get enough of the truth out, right? Like just tell her, like, okay, for your instance, you could just say, I looked at a lot of pornography, I masturbated when you were gone, I flirted with girls on trips, right? We keep it pretty general. And it's like, that was honest. And what we found and what we believe and what I know to be be true is that the way to authentic, true intimacy and freedom is through sharing in everything. And the first thought is always, well, I don't know everything. And I guarantee you do know everything. Like, you've already shared memories from when you were a child, clear as day. You said you can see them and feel them. All of our memories are stored in there. We just have to be able to almost rewind the tape of those stories that we told ourselves to get back to the true actual story. And what kind of dropped in for me is, the weight that you feel even in the tension right now of like, oh, could I act out in my addiction or not? Could I look at pornography or not? A lot of that is still there. This is why we talk about why we believe relapse still happens. That's still there because until you clear out everything, like this other man is saying, and like most men that live in addiction are saying, is there's still the day-to-day recognizing of what you have done. And if you think about it logically, if you wake up every day with a daily recognition of a specific topic, that's forefront of mind every single day. How can you not be tempted or think about acting out on that thing that's literally in your mind all day long? So it makes no logical sense to me that we'd be like, oh, just share some things, not everything. It's like, then those things you didn't share, they're still looping in your mind forever. Therefore, you're still tempted to relapse because it's still at the forefront of your mind. Where what we are recommending, what you're going through in the grounded intimacy, is you're bringing up everything so it can be seen. You can take it through the 4 R's and actually release it and let go of it and replace it with what you want to truly experience. And so as you guys are diving deep into that, just know that paired with the dopamine piece that Brandon's talk about, like with the 2 weeks of you kind of getting into your body, with you actually getting everything out and clearing that with the 4 R's, with releasing and replacing specifically the last 2 pieces, you're going to rewire your entire brain. So the tension or the pull, or the, people call it all different kinds of words, the attraction, the lure to go into your addiction again, all power gets cut from that. It's like right now what you're doing is every time a memory comes up, every time the truth is told, you're taking the cord and you're pulling it out of the, the power source. So it's like, oh, I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to unplug this. And when you don't tell the truth about something, you're leaving it plugged in. So then you have a little bit of power that's still surging to the addiction. So when you take the memory and you bring it out into the open, you pull out all power. So now it has no more power. You're going to live a day very, very soon where you don't even have to think about, do I want to look at pornography or not? Like, that's not freedom. That's what a lot of people try to lead others into, is as long as you think about it but don't do it, you're free. That sounds terrible. Who wants to exist thinking about something and then not actually doing it? That's not freedom. You're going to literally unplug all power to the source, and you are going to live a life where you don't have to fight the urge to look at pornography. And it starts with getting in your body and actually bringing out the full, honest truth. And a lot of it could be even new to you. You could be like, whoa, I didn't realize I did that. Whoa, I didn't realize I did that often. Oh, I'd been hiding and lying this for myself. And even as Danielle's asking you questions, if your automatic response is, I don't know, you could say, I can't remember right now. I want to. So I'm going to go take a cold shower. I'm going to go do 10 minutes of embodiment. I'm going to go journal for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to do this conversation again because I want to see clearly, because this matters to me. See, you've already corrected your language a lot in here, and I love that. The more you open, I said this, I think every episode, the more your language says, I can't see and I'm going to see, I want to remember, your subconscious brain goes, okay, Nathan, that's amazing. Here's everything you've been hiding. I'll give it to you. If you go, I don't know, your brain goes, oh, he doesn't know. That it's like code word. He means he wants to keep it back tucked away. And so when you say, I want to know, I want to see, I'm going to go take a cold shower, your brain, your body go, perfect. He feels safe and comfortable at home with himself. He's ready for this to surface and for it to be seen. And that is your direct path to healing.
You guys are inspiring. You're in a very tender place right now. And so I'm glad you guys are inside of the app, and we look forward to continuing to support you. And I want to thank everybody listening to this episode. If you'd like to join Nathan and Danielle on the healing journey as well inside of our app, feel free to click the show notes to learn more about the Grounded Union app. We'd love to support you, and we'll see you next week on the Grounded Union podcast.